Have you ever noticed something strange? When you're in complete silence, your brain gets louder, not quieter, louder. Tonight, we're diving into one of neuroscience's most fascinating paradoxes, and why your mind refuses to stay silent, even when the world does. Here's what happens the moment you enter true silence. Your auditory cortex, the part of your brain that processes sound, doesn't just shut off. Instead, it cranks up its sensitivity by up to 300%. Think of it like this. Your brain is constantly searching for threats. Silence, in evolutionary terms, could mean danger. So your neural networks compensate by amplifying even the tiniest signals. But here's where it gets weird. When there's nothing external to hear, your brain starts listening to itself. You begin hearing your own neural activity, the electrical firing of neurons, the rush of blood through vessels near your ears, even the mechanical movement of your inner ear muscles. Scientists call this neural noise, and it's always there. You just never notice it until silence forces you to. Now, you might be thinking, wait, is this tinnitus? Not quite, but they're related in a fascinating way. Tinnitus is when your brain creates phantom sounds, ringing, buzzing, humming, usually because of damage to the hair cells in your inner ear. When those cells die, they stop sending signals, and your brain hates missing information. So what does it do? It fills in the gaps. It generates its own sound to replace what's missing. But what you experience in silence is different. That's your brain's normal background activity becoming audible. Here's the key distinction. Tinnitus equals your brain creating false signals to compensate for damage. Neural noise in silence equals your brain amplifying real, internal sounds that are always present. Think of neural noise as your brain's idle hum, like a computer fan you only notice when everything else is quiet. Studies from the University of Illinois found that 100% of participants in completely soundproof chambers reported hearing sounds within 20 minutes. Whooshing, pulsing, high-pitched tones. None of it was external. All of it was their brain's internal symphony. When there's nothing external to hear, your brain starts listening to itself. You begin hearing your own neural activity, the electrical firing of neurons the rush of blood through vessels near your ears. Even the mechanical movement of your inner ear muscles. Scientists call this neural noise, and it's always there. You just never notice it until silence forces you to. Here's where neuroscience gets really strange. When your auditory cortex has nothing to process, it doesn't rest. Research from Johns Hopkins shows it actually becomes more active, firing spontaneously, creating patterns, searching for meaning in the void. Your brain is essentially hallucinating sound. And there's an evolutionary reason for this. For 99% of human history, complete silence was dangerous. It meant predators were near, or you were isolated from your tribe. So your brain evolved to be uncomfortable with silence. It fills the void with internal noise as a survival mechanism, keeping you alert, keeping you vigilant. But in modern life, this ancient adaptation becomes a curiosity, a strange reminder that your brain is never truly quiet. Even in the deepest silence, there's a constant hum of neural activity. Millions of neurons firing, communicating, maintaining the background processes that keep you alive. Want to know something even stranger? The sounds your brain generates in silence aren't random. They cluster around specific frequencies. Most people report hearing tones between 3,000 and 6,000 hertz, the exact frequency range human speech occupies. Why? Because your auditory cortex is optimized for detecting voices. When there's nothing to hear, it defaults to the frequencies it's most trained to recognize. Your brain is literally listening for human connection, even when you're alone. Studies using fMRI scans show that in complete silence, the brain regions responsible for processing speech become hyperactive. They're searching, scanning, anticipating conversation that isn't there. This is why silence can feel so unsettling. It's not just the absence of sound. It's your brain's desperate attempt to fill that absence with familiar patterns.
So what does this mean for your daily life? First, that ringing or whooshing you hear in quiet moments, completely normal. It's not tinnitus. unless it's constant and intrusive. It's just your brain being a brain. Second, this is why meditation is so challenging at first. You're not just fighting external distractions, you're fighting your own neural noise, your brain's evolutionary programming to stay alert. But here's the fascinating part. With practice, you can learn to observe this internal sound without being disturbed by it. Experienced meditators show reduced activity in the auditory cortex during silence. Their brains learn that silence isn't a threat. The neural noise quiets down. Third, if you struggle to fall asleep in complete silence, now you know why. Your brain gets louder when the world gets quieter. This is why white noise or gentle sounds can actually help. They give your auditory cortex something external to focus on, preventing it from amplifying internal noise.
So the next time you're in a quiet room and your brain seems to get louder, remember, you're not imagining it. You're hearing the constant hum of consciousness itself, the neural symphony that never stops, even when everything else does. Your brain doesn't do silence. It fills every void with sound, searching for meaning, connection, and safety. And that's just one more strange mystery of the mind that keeps us curious. This is Sleep Curious. Sweet dreams, night owl.